I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Sniper Elite Operation Kraken. This is an expansion to Sniper Elite. Oh, and prototype, rules and components have to change, and I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. Speaking of the crowdfunding campaign, there's actually two expansions. There's going to be the Escalation expansion, which is a series of modules that are going to be added for Sniper Elite, and I don't have that to cover. I'm just going to be covering the expansion they did send me, which is Operation Kraken. Before we dive into the expansion, I'll give you like 30 seconds on what Sniper Elite is, but I encourage you to, if you're not already familiar, I encourage you to check out my review for it, because I reviewed it a while ago, and my opinion hasn't significantly changed. Diving into it again, I think my opinion stands where it is, which is basically Sniper Elite is a hidden movement game. A hidden movement game where one player is playing as the sniper. It's obviously based on the video game of the same name, and the other players are playing as the various soldiers trying to capture him. To that end, the sniper is trying to wander around whatever the location is, often some sort of military base, and they're trying to accomplish their two objectives before either time runs out or before two wounds are inflicted upon him. There's a big bag building mechanism as far as how the sniper is going to be shooting the various enemies, although the enemies can also respawn, so there's a limit there, and the soldiers are effectively trying to utilize all the tools at their disposal to sweep the various areas, to hopefully strike the sniper where they are, to scan various sectors and asking which zone of the board they're in. You're basically trying to use all your tools to basically hunt down the sniper, and the sniper is often trying to juggle, trying to get to where they need to go with a limited clock. They have a clock on them, there's only so much time they have, and one of the main mechanics of the game, in addition to the bag building, is the fact that you can only move 0 to 1 spaces without alerting people, and if you move more than that, you have to basically say that you made a little too much noise and alerted the guards along the way. And that tension of movement combined with the timer really puts a lot of pressure on the sniper to keep moving and to keep charging forward towards the objectives while the net slowly closes around them. That's the kind of high-level overview of what this game is. Hidden movement game, two sides, one player playing as the soldiers, one player playing as a sniper, so the sniper tries to accomplish their two objectives, and as the soldiers try to either run out the clock or kill the sniper. That's the base game. My overall opinion of Sniper Elite is I think it's fantastic. I think it's a very good hidden movement game, one of the better ones in the hidden movement game genre, although to be fair, I tend to like most hidden movement games. I find that they provide a nice degree of tension, but this one is definitely one that I very much enjoyed. I thought it was most similar to Spectre Ops if you've played that one, while definitely adding a lot of its own flavor, like that bag building aspect is very different, that movement thing. There's a lot of differences, although the similarity of the gear and the way that works, that's definitely one, because there's different gear that the sniper has at the disposal. So there's lots of similarities, lots of differences. Overall, a very solid hidden movement game. Which brings us to Operation Kraken. This is what we're going to be talking about what the expansion adds, or at least this expansion. And this expansion primarily adds two maps with their own little different variations on what the game does, and some new equipment, like 2 new pieces of equipment as well that the sniper has access to depending on which map they're playing on. But anyways, the main idea is you're having 2 new maps added to the game, and that's what we're going to show you now. We have the submarine, or the ship, whatever this is, on this side over here, and this one represents a difference to the usual. In fact, actually, let's show you the other side first, because if you haven't seen Sniper Elite in a while, it might make more sense to cover this one first. This one's a little bit more standard. This is kind of a standard map setup. You're going to have your various sectors, so you can see there's colored sectors on the board. That's important because the enemies can effectively ping a sector saying, are you in this sector? It takes up their entire turn, so it's a big deal, but if you don't really know where the sniper is, it's one of the big tools you can use to try to find them, although again, at the cost of giving up all your other actions. Like if you have a good idea of where they are, trying to sweep or attack is a better use of your time, but pinging a sector is a big part of the game experience. This board gives you a wide open map. The map is significantly more open. If you've seen some of the base game Sniper Elite maps, this is a much more open map than usual, and there's going to have these vehicles that are added to the board on these start spaces, and these are going to give the enemies ways to move around the board significantly faster to go ahead and sweep various sectors, although they do have to stay on the roads. But this gives the soldiers more ways to get around the board, although yes, the sniper can attack them in various ways while they're playing through this. That's the main aspect of this map. The main difference is the more open structure to it, as well as the vehicles charging around, which again, speaking of Spectre Ops, that vehicle aspect, the way soldiers can hop into a vehicle and move around, that's one of the things that, again, feels a bit similar to the vehicle in Spectre Ops. If you like Spectre Ops and missed the vehicle aspect of Sniper Elite, this one kind of brings it back on this particular board. As far as the other board is going to be much more different as far as what it does. This one definitely mixes up. The vehicles mix up the gameplay experience a little bit by having a more open map, as well as the ability to move around more, but this one definitely mixes things up a lot more. This one gives you layers to the ship. So instead of having a traditional open map, you're not moving from here to here from an adjacency. Rather, these represent 3 separate layers to the ship that you're on. We have 1, 2, and 3. The sniper's always going to enter from this this zone over here, which is a little different. In fact, actually on this open map, one of the things that's different as well is there's different multiple entrance zones on the various sides. But on this map over here, you're going to be entering from this one zone over here, and then you're trying to make your way to the various objectives to accomplish those, moving across the ship through the levels. To that end, you're going to look for ladders. So if you see a ladder here, you can move through a ladder to the next similar ladder, and then you can head over here if you want to get to ladder D, which will then take you up to here. So you can move through the ship by going through the ladders. That's for the soldiers and the sniper. The sniper can also travel through vents. So this vent on C will take you over here. Those don't need to be the exact same area because you're like crawling through the vents and going through it. They also provide line of sight where the ladders do not. So a little bit more of an advantage, but only to the sniper. They also have this aspect of locked doors. So you can have a lot more locked zones on the board that can be open and closed, unless of course you blow things off their hinges. So you have these locked doors that give you an additional element. Speaking of which, one of the tools you have, you don't necessarily know if the sniper has bolt cutters, which totally changes things up because you might be able to open a door. So a door that the soldiers thought was locked might not actually be locked, which they only discover when they get there. Very clever little mechanic over there. But honestly, all the equipment and gear in Sniper Elite is very clever as far as how it operates. But the basic idea is you have 3 separate levels to a ship. And then an additional thing for the soldier that you should know about is these soldiers can choose to either ping a color or alternatively to ping a level. Although you can't do both in the same turn, because if you pinged a color and a level, you'd know the sniper is exactly here. So for example, you could say, are you in red, which would be this sector over here? Or you could say, are you on the lowest level? You can do one or the other on your turn, again, giving you those tools to try to pin down the sniper, but again, that shifts up the way the game plays. So that's kind of just giving you an overview of what this expansion is doing. As far as how I felt about these maps, because honestly, the expansion is maps. That's what the expansion is. It's new ways, new boards to play through Sniper Elite. As far as the 2 maps, I think that the open-ended one over here, this one, it felt a bit more like more of the same, but in a good way. More variety. The vehicles are nice. I do like Spectre Ops, and having those vehicles being added back here is a nice little element. I think I prefer the closeness of some of the base game maps more than this one, but this one does add a nice degree of variety. So this one I felt a bit more vanilla on, but also giving you a variety of new mechanics. So not a bad thing, not a good thing. It's nice to have. The boats, on the other hand, this one, again, I'm mixed on, but in a different way. The boat felt like a real shift from the way the normal map is played, the way the normal board is played. This provided a challenging experience that I think with more plays, I will appreciate more. I say with more plays because I definitely found the 3D tracking of things, of where things are, to be a little bit less immediately intuitive as to how to move around. And I guess when you look at a normal Sniper Elite map, or generally a map in a game, it's usually pretty easy how you get from point A to point B on these boards. In this one over here, it's a little bit not as obvious to see if I'm over here and I want to get over here, what's the exact route I'm going to take. And that definitely provides some degree of less certainty, I guess, as far as, what's the word for it? Obfuscation of how to achieve your goals. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. There's a bit more obfuscation as far as what you're doing to achieve your goals, which, while I like the cleverness of how different this map felt, that also was something that's kind of in the way of the initial experience, but that will get better with multiple plays as you kind of get a sense of where the boats are. So overall, as far as the expansions go, my original rating for Sniper Elite was a 4 out of 5. I think it's a great game. My rating for the expansions is going to be a 3.5 out of 5. And to be clear, that's because of the way I rate expansions. I don't rate expansions based on how much my enjoyment is. I rate them based off of what they are or are not adding to the base game experience. And I think Operation Kraken is nice variety to have, but I don't think either map blew me away. Again, one is good, but like I kind of prefer the tight spaces, and the other one is more clever, but also a little bit harder to get that understanding of exactly how everything's laid out, and that resulted in 2 expansions that are definitely good to have for the variety, but neither one was like, oh my gosh, this is a must-have, it's going to totally change up your experience. They add nice little tweaks to the experience. So if you are a Sniper Elite fan, this is good to have, good expansions, add more to the experience. I definitely think you'll add these to your rotation, but if you're only playing Sniper Elite once a year anyway, I don't think you need these additional expansions, well, at least this one. Escalation, as far as a separate expansion, I don't have, but if you're playing Sniper Elite very infrequently and you're content with your base game, I don't think this massively changes the experience, and it's not a must-have. I think the main reason you'd want it is that variety, not because they're significantly better maps. So a 3.5 out of 5 as far as what the expansion adds. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this helpful in some way, and as always, I hope you have a good one.